Hello and welcome everyone to the Global Ghost Hunt Live podcast. I'm your host, Haley Overseth, and we are joined this evening by Glenda Dawson, glendasmagicalcreations.com, energy healer, Reiki practitioner, channeler, medium. Hello, friend. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you for having me.
We are so stoked to have you here. So we're going to dive right in. Remind folks that this is Global Ghost Hunt Live, and we are talking about globalghosthunt.com. You can go and check out globalghosthunt.com and register your team for a paranormal live investigation October 17th through the 27th. And it turns out that our friend Glenda is going to be joining the team and the fun, and she's going to be supporting our paranormal teams. Tell us more about this. I'm excited.
Well, thank you. I will be speaking to each and every team and trying to help them if they are having difficulty that day finding a apparition or a ghost or whatever, because sometimes the locations may be a little quiet. I will hopefully be able to give them a direction as to where to go within that location. Also, maybe what they should concentrate on, what they should leave alone.
So you're kind of like paranormal tech support for the Global Ghost Hunt Live.
There you go. Perfect.
That's what you're doing. So if anyone is like having a lull and things aren't really connecting up and we're not hooking up to the spirits and the peeps and the energies, you call your girl Glenda. Yep. Talk to me. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about this then, because you do your mediumship and I was checking out your website and your stuff. Go check out glendasmagicalcreations.com because I love your website. It's very well put together also.
Thank you.
So, but talk to me a little bit then about how you sort of tune in to a location. Like you're going to give this support to them. Like what are your sort of techniques and can we start with that and then maybe get into some of your experience?
Oh, sure. Usually what I do is I kind of scan like a scanner, the property. I don't like to go in there with knowing what's other people have found, what other people have not found. So I go in, I don't want to hear any information. I go and I scan the whole place. And it's kind of like, the electrical stuff where you actually see or have a meter. Well, I use my body as the meter and my connection to the spirit world, to the divine. And I go in there, and basically, when I find a hotspot, I kind of say, okay, I'm just here to talk. What's up? Basically. And even before I go into a property, I always ask for permission to go into a property
So
from the house.
Even energetically.
Even energetically.
Okay. Which I think is a good, I don't know, sort of like little sign of respect to the space, to the energy of the space, to, whatever entities might be occupying the space, right? You want to be welcoming to try to get them. And can you talk to me a little bit about that? So like if you're tuning in and kind of trying to, I do love this idea. You're kind of like the spirit world electrician. You go in there and you zap things. You know what I mean? And you just get the lights turned back on, like, hey, y'all, here's my buddies. Can you come and talk to them?
Right.
Rock and roll, light bulbs on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so talk to us a little bit about that and what does that sensation sort of feel like to you when you tune in?
Well, when I start to tune in, basically it feels like a very warm feeling. And then I know I'm connected. It's kind of like when you start the microwave, you actually see the food starting to cook. Well, it's the same type of feeling inside. I know it sounds kind of weird, but
I like it. Turn the microwave on and you can start get warm from the inside.
And this has been since day one. Like that's what I have always done. And not just for ghost hunting, but also when I was a long, long time ago, when I was helping people deal with what they had in their home. So it's the same thing. I would walk in, ask for permission from the house and the spirits. That's why I'm able to live in a house that it was registered in 1900, so it was built way before that. Mm-hmm. And I do have what I call my non-paying tenants.
Non-paying.
Yes, they don't even do dishes. Okay.
You got to start kicking in for the rent if you're going to be living here, y'all. Like you can, I get it. You can come in and talk to me. We can chill. I'm down for some roomies, but you got to be helping me on the YouTubes or something. Like
right, exactly.
Let's start kicking in on the algorithm space if you could, or something.
Right. So what I do is I go in and, like I said, I ask for permission, and then I will go in and I say, look, even energetically, I'm only here to help you to hear your story. I'm not here for anything else, but I want to know what the real history is, the untold history. You're not going to frighten me. Mm-hmm. I was at age of 5. I saw a exorcism done to one of my family members. So I already been there, done that. I saw everything. I'm desensitized. So I go in.
Well, when you're so connected to, you start to recognize you don't have to be afraid, right? No. Like nothing is actively trying to hurt you. You're just, you gotta come at it with the right energy and the right, like, hey, I get it. You're just here to exist like everybody else. And I do love that. Like the what's your story? Glenda is the real deal. Thank you, Mary. I agree. You are correctimus.
Thank you, Mary.
But so tell me a little bit more then about where, like, let's go back to 5-year-old you. When did this sort of tuning in? When did you kind of recognize that this was something you could do?
Before the age of 2.
Yeah. Do you have memories of this?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, the one that I speak about is when I was the day before I was age of 2.
Okay.
And I'm sitting outside, and now, mind you, up to that point, all the doctors were told I could not walk. All the doctors told my parents, my family, so because I have birth defect, I have certain bones that were missing. Okay. And they were saying I could never walk. So I was like, oh, 2-year-old, you just adjust. You do things differently. I used to use a little tiny rocking chair, rock myself up fast, and that's how I would move around.
I love that, like almost your own little wheelchair kind of thing,
Yeah,
or the rocking
exactly.
chair.
Exactly.
Very like ingenuity right there, but at the age of 2, I love it.
So they came to me and they said, "No, you could walk." Those were the archangels, as I recognize them now. And I was like, "No," and they just held my hand and I started walking. So at that point, and within the next few years, when I start to realize I could see things that nobody can, except for my mother and my grandmother, on my, most of the women on my mother's side.
Okay. Interesting.
So I was told by my mother, you don't talk about this to anyone,
Mhm.
and you only talk to me about it. And so that's how I left it. But I then started to realize I'm the only one around who could see everything. I would
Mhm.
go to places and I would try to stay quiet because here I have spirits talking to me,
Mhm.
and I'm like, nope, nope, nope. I'm not going to talk to
Uh,
you in front of
yeah,
others.
nope, I gotta keep this hidden because they tell me it's no good.
Right.
That's what's up, Vicky from Abyss Paranormal.
Hi.
And that's sort of a common theme. Vicky kind of talked about that when we met last time, that she
Right.
had that sort of situation. The parents, grandmother, aware of it and suppressing it, right? Like there could, because
Hmm.
that fear of what are people going to think. But we do, yay for the internet. We live in a time where people are getting more groovy and people are
Yeah.
getting more interested, and more of these things are available, which is like why Global Ghost Hunt is great, because like that's just so much opportunity for people to see something new, something different,
Hmm.
something, and people who are delving into these different paranormal realms, the not just spirits and things, but really getting into
Right.
like blending it with energy. So
Exactly.
maybe you can talk to us a little bit about that, since you do both. Like, are you seeing that sort of synergy starting to maybe benefit the paranormal investigation world, that like the energy and spirituality is kind of blending into the ookily spookily paranormal investigation, right?
Well, I believe everything is under the paranormal umbrella. Anything
Hmm.
that's not normal is really paranormal.
Which
And
I like to think is supernatural, because
there
it's
you go.
actually supernatural. It's
Natural,
normal. We're all born being tuned in. We just like train ourselves out of it.
right? Because we are told to, basically.
Mhm.
But I believe that even Reiki as a Grandmaster, I could use that to kind of send like a force field. Like, you've always, I'm sure you have seen in documentaries like bats, they send out the
Mhm.
the energy field, and they know when there's an object in front of them because it
Mhm.
comes back and they know the distance and all that. Well, I use Reiki for the same thing, basically.
Mhm.
So if I don't really get that there's something in a location, I'll send out a wave of Reiki. And
See what bounces back, kind of
right,
like a
exactly.
sonar thing. It's a frequency check. I like that. That's cool.
So it helps. You have to, well, at least for me, I believe everything is connected.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Paranormal, supernormal, whatever,
Mhm.
and science too.
Yeah.
People don't
Oh,
realize how,
girl,
they like to.
talk to
They
me
like
all day long about how quantum physics and spirituality agree on so many
ex-
different levels and topics.
exactly.
Talk to me about it all day long. Of
and
course I
and
do.
when I do the quantum healing sessions and all that, everybody's like, well, how can you do this when you do this? And I'm like, they're all interconnected. Everything, there's
Mhm.
energy all around,
Right, and
whether
that's
it's
what
in
everything is.
the dimension of the ghost, or it's in the dimension of the sound waves, or it's in the dimension of galactics, or whatever, it's
It's
still there.
It's all energy, and it's all available for you to vibe with and communicate with. You just gotta
Exactly.
learn that tuning in piece, that intuition piece.
Hmm. Exactly.
So tell me a little bit more then about kind of how this developed for you, over time, in as you're able to maybe kind of come out with it more. Does that help you develop your skills the more that you can be open about it? Did you have to kind of develop your skills quietly for a while? Like, what was that journey sort of like for you?
Well, I was very blessed. My grandmother and my mother both had gifts. So they would teach me whatever they could. And then as I got older, in the early 80s, I heard all this new wave about Reiki, and I was like, oh, what is that? And then I went to New York to those classes, got attuned for the first 3 levels. Then I kind of had to stop everything. Children came along, and all that. So
Life happens, right?
yeah, life happens. So you kind of lay low. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, everything is starting to come back. Like I'm starting to get my intuition back. Uh, the uh, the kids started seeing ghosts themselves. So
Like sensors on, spidey
yeah,
senses activate.
exactly. So all my children experienced something as they were growing up. We would even know in sections of New Jersey, because that's where originally I lived in. We would know that when there was even UFOs, like we could feel the vibrations, and we'd go outside and look
That's
up.
fun. Okay, do you know there's a documentary on Netflix about her, Dorothy Izot. Did you ever hear about her?
I heard about her, yes.
Capturing the light. And she would go out and she would film these UFOs that she would see,
Hmm.
and it like, the film is just basically lights, right?
Right.
And but the film would have like a certain quality to it, but that's what she would say, is that she would sense it, like in the house, and they
Hmm.
would basically tell her, come outside and film, we're going to be out here.
Right.
So
Right.
like, but that's like fascinating that you had that same thing where you're feeling like the frequency, and then to go
Hmm.
out and look. So is there, can you talk about, like, is there an energetic vibrational sort of sensation difference when you tune in to like a spirit realm dimension, for example, as opposed to like the galactic sort of dimension, or like the UFO frequencies? Like,
There is a tiny slight for me, and
okay.
I should, make sure I clarify that. For me, there is a tight, very tiny difference, very subtle, and that is when I pay attention, I could tell what sort of dimension or frequency it's in. And since I look at and I feel all of the frequencies at the same time, sometimes I have to say to myself, okay, wait, that's, this frequency. Okay, that's got to be coming from a ghost, or it's got to be coming from a galactic, or even when I channel,
Mhm.
like say, for example, the Council of Nine, that's a whole other frequency. Uh,
Right, like, and it's specific to them, right?
right,
It,
correct.
it's because everything is right. Everything is a specific energy signature. So tell me a little bit about this channeling then that you do with the Council of Nine, and how did this come about? And because I'm fascinated with that too. Like, I love the interviews with extra dimensional stuff with Ruben Langdon, and getting the, because again, we all have that capacity to tune in,
Hmm.
and like I have gotten things that have come to me that I'm like, I get little drops of information, but you know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
the channeling thing I really love, because I love, like, okay, how do you really tune in and get clear on like messages that are not corrupted by your own human perception filters, right?
right. Well, that is something you have to start trusting yourself, that what you're getting is not you, period.
Mhm.
And in the beginning, you may say to yourself, oh, this has got to be me. I just knew this. But when you start the confirming the information that you're getting and
Mhm.
not really knowing about it, that's when you start to trust yourself. And when I do that, I just surrender. I surrender to the subject. I surrender to the event. I surrender to the channeling or whatever I'm doing, and that's just it. I'm not there to judge it whether it's me or not. It's not me. That's what I keep saying. Yep, universal wisdom.
Universal wisdom, Mary. I did
Yeah.
see that comment. I was thinking, I'm glad Brian John put it up. It is. It's that
Yeah.
we all have that access to what they call the Akashic Records source,
Right.
whatever you want to call it, right? Like, and you can tune in and get to a frequency where you can talk to, and maybe you can talk about this a little bit. So are you able to tune in to certain frequencies more easily based on your energy signature, for example. Like that there are different energies, whether it's again spirit realm, intergalactic, or even just among our human selves, right? Like there are different energies that you naturally are able to tune into more easily. Can you maybe talk a little bit about like why that is or why that happens that way?
Well, it's like you get along with certain people more than you do others. Right? And maybe you have been coming, say, if it's a human, you have been sharing life after life after life with them.
Yeah.
And, or you decide, and then it's like a familiar feeling, and you just like mesh in. It's like you've known them forever. You have. You've
Yeah.
been coming back so often.
Like you've been on the same team for a long time. Like
Exactly.
we've been getting the A team together for different stories and different dimensions, like over and over and over again, man. That's why you just, some of them
Exactly.
you just know.
Right. Exactly. So it's the same thing. There are some frequencies. So, for example, even different races within the galactic. You may have in your galactic life, for me, for example, as a starseed, as somebody who I know came from originally from another place, I may have been there more than I have been in another planet. So that frequency is more familiar to me than the other one. But that doesn't mean that you cannot tune in, you cannot communicate. It just means that one is more familiar and you feel like old chumps, let's have a beer,
Oh
share
yeah,
popcorn,
no, that's like a really great analogy and a way to say it. Like I've been chilling with these souls for a long time. It's kind of like how when I'm with my sisters, we'll all say the like, "Hello from Enlightened Souls Paranormal Team, Mark, what's up?" Like my sister and I, when when we're hanging out, we'll
Right.
say the same thing at the same time, start singing the same song at the same time. Like you're just in tune with that
Right.
person, right? Like just
Exactly.
naturally. And so like,
Mhm.
that's a really great sort of way to frame it though, right? For people, because I think these are great conversations to have, because I think a lot of people out there are trying to tap into their own inner intuition,
Mhm.
right? And because I mean, who isn't having the conversation about how to follow your bliss more clearly so that right? Who's not having that conversation? And like, girl, talk to us about it. How do you get to that inner voice in a way that is so much more, stable and steady and not chaotic? Because this world is full of a lot of noise that wants to
Mhm.
tell you that, that you are wrong and those voices internally are incorrect.
Right. Well, you get to a point where you learn to love yourself for who you are. That's it. Um, I know I say easy, but it is hard to do because we have been trained. You can't think of yourself. You can't
Mhm.
do anything for yourself. But I believe that once you love yourself for who you are and how you are and what you represent at any given moment, good or bad, you will be able to let go of those chains and be able to connect to that bliss. You'll be able to let go of all that negative energy you've been holding on to. Let it go. You've been able to, you will be able to then connect to your inner child because we need to have joy in order
That
to have bliss.
I mean, girl, say it again louder for those at the back.
You
Connect.
need to connect to your inner child.
You need to connect to the joy of your inner child because
Yes.
that's where the living is. I am
Mhm.
with you on that 100%. And that's it's a thing I've been saying to myself recently. Like, I really just want to live this life, Like, where is that version of me who just lives this life, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we're all looking for in a lot of ways.
Yes, we are. We are. And we get bogged down with so many things. Like, you have a problem. The problem is not going to go away. And by worrying about it, it's not going to go away. It's not going to
Mhm.
fix it. You're not going to do anything about it. So just say, okay, what are the steps that I need to take to resolve this? You have a flat tire, for example.
Mhm.
What are you going to do? Well, you're going to find out if you have a spare. You're going to
Mhm.
find out if you have a jack to put your car up, and then you're going to
You're
call
gonna
somebody to
I was
do it
gonna
for you.
say, you're gonna call your cousin and be like, "Hey, I know you got your boyfriend over there who's handy dandy. You're gonna have to come do this for me, please and thank you."
I joined AAA on this
Yeah,
side.
right? I mean, listen,
Hello?
the beauty of the new world in which we exist is the convenience of being able to call somebody else who knows how to do it.
Exactly.
Surrender to your purpose, Mary. Yes, I agree. That's, you know
That
what?
is one of my sisters, not in different mothers and different parents, but that's one of my sisters.
Well, I got, listen, blended modern family here too. And you know what? Maybe it's a good thing. Like, this is just a little thing that's coming to me right now. Maybe it's a good thing. All the sort of, I know divorce and modern families and blended families, it's, such a stigma to it. Maybe it's a good thing though, because it helps us to recognize our interconnectivity, right? And that like you are family with everyone, even if it's not, in the
Even
sort
if
of.
we're not even in the same state or anything, we are family. We are one, right? We're
Mhm.
all part of the oneness, the divine, no matter what you want to call that divine.
Right.
Whether it's God, Goddess, Creator,
Source, the
Divine Spirit,
universe, the
right?
multiverse, the
Whatever.
right. I always like to say the base vibrational frequency of unconditional love that is all that is,
There
right?
you go. There you
Tap
go.
into that. And
Hmm.
that's where the good stuff is. So
Hmm.
continue then a little bit on your journey here and this like discovering that you can talk to extraterrestrial entities.
Well, I could basically, it's the same way as if you talk to a ghost.
Mhm.
You just, or a spirit that's a loved one that's passed on.
Mhm.
I learned through the practice of my gifts that basically you do the same thing. You ask if they could want to come down. You ask if they want to talk to you. It's kind of like, calling them, hey, can you talk now?
Mhm.
The same thing. You each has their own protocol, each has their own respect level, but it's still respecting. Each one of them has something to say,
Mhm.
and if you are willing to listen, you can learn a lot and you can let go of a lot of stuff.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, because again, that's such a thing that people are sort of chasing in a lot of ways right
Hmm.
now, right? But when you're chasing after it, that's not how you get a hold of it, right?
Hmm.
That's just not the way to do it. So, can you talk a little bit more about that?
The
I guess
self
kind
love.
of, well, the self-love and the idea of just sort of that surrender and that asking for the assistance and that tuning in and saying like, "Listen, I don't know what my problem is, okay? There's you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of human belief structure matrices like matrices bopping around all over the place. I've
Right,
been
right.
knocking around with them for a while. I don't know which one of them is like getting all chunked up in my stuff, but like could you just come and like tell me what I need to do here?"
Well, I basically just get myself into a point of just being, closing my eyes, focusing on going in, shutting out the outside noise, the chaos, everything, just shutting it out. I, on purpose, then do a little bubble of energy. So I'm kind of protected by that.
Mhm.
So everything that happens out there, I have no idea. There
Mhm.
could be a fire out there, like right in front of me, and I'm in my zone, and it'll somehow take care of itself because if they don't get me out of the zone, I know it's going to be taken care of. And yes, I do have my human side where sometimes it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Right.
But then I go, wait, why are you panicking? If things always work out for you, you look back and you say to yourself, how did I do that? How did I actually was able to accomplish that? How was I actually able to just take care and everything just runs as smooth as possible? And yet all the answers go back to you just let it happen. You trust it. You just say, like the saying says, let go, let God. It's the same thing.
Mhm.
You just let go of everything that's holding you, everything that's anchoring you, and you say, you know what? Everything within me is peace, and I will not allow anyone to push any buttons, and I will not allow anyone to cause me to react. And that's the difference. I just am. And once you say that a few times to yourself, you will feel the energy shift within you. And then all of a sudden, you start noticing little things that make you wonder and go into that wonder joy
Mm-hmm.
type of energy. You know, you go outside and you look at a flower and you're like, wow, it's just been here for a couple of weeks and I really hadn't noticed it. And then you look at it
Oh,
and
isn't that the best feeling in the world when
yeah.
you tap into that happy, joyful energy and you notice the birds and you notice the trees and
Mhm.
the leaves and you notice the river and the way that the sunshine sparkles on the water. It's just so beautiful, right?
Mhm.
And it's such a
Exactly.
blissful space to be in, you
Mhm.
know, and that there's such a thing. I think maybe you can talk about this a little bit with me. I think there is such a energy in like human spiritual consciousness,
Mhm.
intentional vibrational transformation. I like
Yes.
right? But there's still that element of sort of like that trying element, right? Of
Right.
like you got to get yourself to that higher vibrational frequency in order to receive this, that, or the other thing that you're trying to manifest, right? But it's that trying element, right?
Mhm.
That just like, what's up, Raymond? That I think just trips people up because the trying is just antithetical to letting things flow and happen.
Right. And the trying part, I believe, really just takes practice and doing it. You know, you go into the country, into the woods, and you look at the bird, you hear the birds, and see the river and all that other stuff. Absorb that energy frequency, hold on to that in your mind. So when you go in, you have that same bliss going in,
Mhm.
you know, and you keep it with you. And when somebody is cutting you off or somebody's yelling for no reason and all that, you just like, nope, nope, nope. And you go back into that space where you were, where you saw the river and
Mhm.
the birds and, you know, the flowers and the trees, and you get back into your Zen. Now, it's all practice because
Mhm.
unless you're able to all of a sudden heal every single thing that has happened to you
Mhm.
in this lifetime, in other lifetimes, you may, and you know, hey, kudos to you if you could do that. But you have to take each one thing that comes up. Why am I being triggered by this man who I just met, who's eating with his forks holding it like this instead of holding it like this? Like, you know,
Why am I bothered by the smallest
right,
inconveniences in life that are just
exactly.
flipping me out?
Exactly. So once you get to the bottom of that, you could say that doesn't make sense. That's like, you know, sweating small stuff. That's like arguing over something that is irrelevant. So once you start letting go of all that craziness, and I mean it in a kind way, I don't mean it in a clinical way. Want to put that
Oh,
out.
no, you know, again, it's just that conditioning and that programming that we
Right.
have that you just have to sort of disregard, in a lot of ways, right? And
Reprogram yourself. Yes.
yeah, and just say, "That is not a part of me because it doesn't feel good." And if it doesn't feel good and doesn't resonate, then
Nope.
they can't be meant for me, right? And trusting
Exactly.
that when it doesn't feel good, it isn't meant for you.
Exactly. And then so you move on. It's like applying for a couple of different jobs. And yes, you get one that is paying three times what you asked, and then the other one is barely not right exactly what you asked, but you feel really good about the one that, you know, didn't really give you what you asked. Well, for me, yes, the money would be really nice, but what is it attached to? What
Mhm.
kind of stress level am I going to be in? Am I
Right.
going to have to work 24/7? Am I
Right.
going to have to be available all the time?
Mhm.
And then this one is like more laid back, stress level is less. And you know what? If I really need the money and I really need to, I could get myself a side job.
Right.
until they pay me what I need or what I
Mm-hmm.
asked. But it's kind of like weighing everything. You not only do you have to take your steps logically, you also have to use your intuition. If your stomach is hurting and you're just stepping into that door for that interview, yeah, and it's not nerves, I would double check all the details. Fine print. Read all the fine print.
Read all the fine print. Make sure you know what you're getting into. Well,
Exactly.
but really it does come down to a lot of trust of yourself and trusting
Mhm.
that, that feeling of I don't belong in this space is probably accurate. And because you do know when you are in a space that you belong in, right? Like you can
Mhm.
feel that energy, you can feel that difference when
Right.
you are like it's like you say, like when you're with people that you vibe with well and you're comfortable,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, these are my people, this is
Right.
my tribe, right? And as much as we are all one and we are all connected, that doesn't mean that we all have to like hang out together. It's
Right.
perfectly fine for you to have your friend group. It's
Yeah.
but so sorry, and I know we veered off a little bit, but getting back to your friend group and the Council of Nine, tell me a little bit about like what is the kind of basic messaging that sort of comes from them generally, like, and I know that this is kind of going somewhere a little bit for me in the sense that I think a lot of whoever you're channeling, the energies that you're channeling, they're all telling us the same thing, right? But it matters that you have so many different channels and you have so many diverse different people. Oh, Raymond. But it matters that, listen, I understand that, Raymond. I get it. Like survival mode is a real thing in this human experience we're riding on. I get it. But the idea that sorry, now I got myself a little bit sidetracked. But like just channelers and I say this about podcasters too. Like
Right.
it matters that you put your stuff out there even if a lot of people are doing it, because you never know when your voice and your message is going to be what someone else needed to hear to make things click, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
even if they're given the same message essentially at its core, right? You're saying it in a way that might reach different people in a different way, right? Because
Correct.
that's the tribe and that's your group and that's how you get the message there.
Mhm.
So, can you talk a little bit about like the energy that you deal with when it comes to the Council of Nine and their messaging that they give?
Well,
Raymond. Brian likes to have a little bit of fun. You got to keep the fun rolling. Inner child joy. He's just playing a little bit of a game.
so the Council of Nine is nine energy members. Now, every week could be different. It could be the same. They are archangels, they're galactics, they're from other galaxies, other dimensions, they're beings from all over the place, but they're all light beings. They all work in the light. They're here
Okay.
to help humanity hopefully survive and help raise the vibration so we can ascend to that fifth dimension that everybody talks about.
That
Uh,
everybody's talking about getting into the 5D and bringing things into the 3D, right? Like
right,
again, that
right,
manifestation line.
right. So, um, what they do is a little different with us because they are doing this for a global, in a global sense, not an individual sense. So what they do is they give us coordinates where we energetically go there. We travel there to
Okay.
wherever it is. It could be Mars, it could be Venus, it could be the moon, it could be Sirius, it could be anywhere that they want us to go. And usually, what it is because it triggers the memory that we have had within us since day one. And that will help us understand who we really are and raise that vibration globally. So, what they do is, for example, they take us to places where all of a sudden we realize we could have been doing what we're doing now long time ago. We can connect with others um, telepathically that they
Hmm.
are here to help us and they show us. And then they also initiate us to different frequencies. They give us the key to open up doors within ourselves so we could bring all that knowledge into the now. And for example, it's kind of like assessing your Akashic records, but this is the global Akashic records or the universe Akashic records. So everything that has ever happened is in those filing cabinets. And what they do
Well,
is
and it's that infinite possibilities too,
right,
right? Like
right,
everything that could be and all the different things that could have been, they're all available. You can access any of them. They
exactly.
all exist somewhere. But collectively, right?
Hmm.
As an earth human collective consciousness,
Right.
there's got to be a way for us to get on the same frequency and everybody be in thrive mode instead of survive mode. We don't want Raymond taken to the street corners. Like, we're trying to avoid that for you as best we can, unless it is your highest joy to do that, in which case, like, go forth and do, right?
Right. Right.
But it is something, again, and it's a conversation being had in a lot of different spaces, this
Right.
idea of raising the collective consciousness and a sense of sort of responsibility to that cause or to that
Hmm.
aim.
Hmm.
But then there's also that element, again, of creating an unnecessary sense of urgency in it, right? Like,
Hmm.
yes, 528 hertz. Let's please talk about the Schumann resonance of the planet and how it went nuts last June. Do we all remember that? Fun times, right? But maybe you can talk about that angle a little bit, right? Again, just this idea of getting us all in tune in a way that lifts everyone else up,
Right.
right?
Right. Well, we're that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to say, anybody who watches the show, no matter
Mhm.
when it is, that they watch it, they can follow the steps. They could follow us through it. They could actually, I've gotten a lot of emails and messages that they've actually have gone there. And then they actually have come out of it feeling much happier, feeling like there's
Mhm.
nothing that can go wrong. And if they did have a problem, all of a sudden they found a clear way of getting out of it.
Mhm.
They saw the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak.
Right.
So that is one of the things that we're trying to do. And by just doing it to one person, it raises everybody else's.
All boats
Awareness.
rise with the tide, as they say.
Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly. So is there, and I know that you do some of this as a part of the services that you offer on your website and things like
Hmm.
that, but is there anything in general that you could offer to the audience in terms of sort of just taking steps or tuning in, or how can they, I guess, sort of request that and maybe that's all you have to do is have that intention, is like set the intention and make the request, like, who's my team in the quantum multiverse that can come help me with the solutions I need so that I
Right.
can move forward in a way where I can be useful to everybody else at large.
Well, you can ask, but if you don't trust it, if you don't surrender to it,
All
they're
right.
going to say, I don't know about that. I don't know about this.
That's the rough part of it, isn't it? That
Yes,
it's,
it is.
again, that sort of like the respect level thing, right?
Well, it's the same thing like in my mediumship classes that I do every Thursday night. Now, I have mediumship development, psychic development classes. They are complimentary, so nobody has to pay if they don't want to. I mean, if I'll definitely take donations if anybody wants to give
Mhm.
donations, but I don't charge. Why? Because I want people to practice, and when they practice, they raise their vibrations. When
Mhm.
they do this and they get messages from their loved ones, from other people in the group, they release things. They may release, that moment of stress. They may find themselves um, feeling loved again. They
Mhm.
realize that their loved ones, their grandparents, their parents didn't really leave them. They're just
Mhm.
in a different place right now, and they
That
could come and visit at any time
Mhm.
and still guide them. So that in itself brings a lot of healing. So that is one of the reasons I do this thing. I feel that if everyone does their little tiny part, just the little tiny part of
Mhm.
like setting even the intention when you wake up in the morning, I'm going to have a good day, no matter
Mhm.
what happens. That doesn't mean you're not going to face problems. You're not going to face that flat tire at some point. You're not going to face the water heater breaking, the pipes freezing, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
it means that you're not going to go ballistic and put more negative into the collective energy field that's already
Mm-hmm.
there.
Right.
Right? You know that you are going to face those things because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we heal.
Mm-hmm.
Humans are very stubborn since day one.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes, we are.
we don't heal and we don't grow by easy steps. It's when the mountain falls on us, the knives get thrown
The-
at us, all
It's
that
that
stuff.
the tower card in the tarot has to come up. And I was just thinking that today. Like, can we not do that anymore? Can we not have to get to the tower card?
Right.
Can we stop at the strength card and be
Right.
like, all
Uh,
right,
there you
let's
go.
all just pause for a
Uh-huh.
hot second
Mm-hmm.
and get into that lion energy, get into that courage, get into that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
find find your center, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's so and just sorry, going back to just the work that you do. Do you have maybe like what would you say is kind of your maybe flavor of messaging then? So like cuz you do blend a lot of different things. You blend the spiritual, you blend the intergalactic, you blend the Reiki energy spiritual realms, that well-being realm, right? And the sort of emotional healing and uplifting. What would you kind of put in your what's your brand, Glenda Dawson? Like, what's your brand of messaging? What's your flavor of good stuff for the world to uplift people?
I usually just tell people to remember when they were 3 years old to 5 years old, when they would go into a ice cream place and the wonder that they had, that feeling. That's the feeling you need. That energy is what you need for now. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world. And
Mhm.
it isn't that is a lot of stuff happening now. It's that we, because of social media,
Well, I mean, listen, Brian John, she should give you shit. Like you need it. If that's why I feed it to you all the time too. You're gonna get both me and Glenda. You better just be ready. Get your shields up, bro. Coming at you.
couch too.
Right?
No, but seriously, just remember that we are here to learn, and this is our classroom. So if we learn, we can let go of that. It's like, when you were in college, you studied for the test, you passed the
Hmm.
test, you're done, you're out, that's it.
Yeah.
You may or may not remember later, but if something later comes along and it has to do with that class, you're going to recollect that. You're going to bring that
Hmm.
energy back up. You're going to bring that memory of, oh yes, I knew how to do that. Wait a second. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden the problem will be solved.
Well, now this is kind of a fun little concept. Let's talk about this for a hot second on the tuning in frequency thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and because you do the past life regressions also,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you'd be willing to talk about your perspective on that a little bit. My perspective is more of a like simultaneous lives. Everything is here and now, right? Like human linear time is a part of
Mm-hmm.
our Earth construct that we
Right.
needed to keep things together in the 3D. I get it. But maybe you can talk a little bit about that idea of those and tapping into the knowledge and the assets of those other versions of yourself, right? Because we talk a lot about, again, like humans are very focused on doing the shadow work and healing the trauma. Okay, well, what about tapping into the versions of you who figured it out? What
Mm-hmm.
resources do they have to offer me? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so maybe you can talk about that just a little bit.
Well, when I do what is called past life regression, I believe, like you, we're all having a life at the same time
Yeah.
in different dimensions. And the only difference might be that if one is a little bit more ahead of us in what we call our timeline,
Hmm.
but there is no time anywhere
Right.
else. There's absolutely no time. It's forwards, backwards, here, there, all at the
Right.
same time, all
Up,
happening.
down,
Boom.
to the left, sideways. It is Willy
Yeah,
Wonka's little like shoot it out of the ceiling mobile.
exactly. So I believe that when we access those versions of us, we not only learn and not only bring up our energy, we figure out for every other life that we're having at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
if I, for example, if I heal something that happened to me when I was 4 years old, I'm not only healing me now in the present, but all my future lives, which are probably happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, it having energy in itself and realizing that every single thing is energy. When I go into a matrix to try to fix somebody's, strings that are not attached, and
Mm-hmm. Yep.
move this one over here and move this one over there, and okay, this is really bad, how can we fix,
Yeah.
bring some glue, some tape, whatever.
What do we got to do here?
Exactly. uh it not heals the one that's here in front of me, but it heals the ones in the back, the ones forward, the ones on the
Mm-hmm.
sides, the ones out there, the ones down there.
It all
Yes,
reverberates, right? It's
exactly.
that energy bubble.
It's like when you throw a rock in a very calm pond,
Yep.
you know, and all of a sudden the pond starts to ripple. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing.
And it
Same
ripples
thing.
out to all the rest of them. And
Exactly.
that's, and so that's an interesting kind of experiment then. How do I find the energy signature of where is my infinite self that I can tune into that has like a problem that I could solve that also has a solution for me, right? Like how do we join up our energy and mutually like co-create a solution in whatever dimensions we're in? Raymond's got some electrical tape. He'll put us back together. He's going to rock and roll with our energy matrices. Thank you, Raymond, with the electrical tape. That is how you fix it. Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant.
Well,
Listen, I don't see why you couldn't use that as a meditation visualization. I'm just
yeah.
taping up my energy back with some electrical tape.
Mhm.
We're going to do this red green
And you know
style
what?
with the
It'll
duct tape.
work. It will work
It'll work. It
because
you
it's the intention.
right. My
And
intention is to tape it back
you just
together in a
right.
different kind of way.
And you just have to envision it so it works for you. So
And that is the biggest thing, again, with listening to yourself. Does it work for you? Raymond is on it. He's got the electrical tape visualization. I can't wait for you the new meditations you're going to put out on YouTube, Raymond, of your little visualizations of people putting their energy structures back together with electrical tape. You're going to be getting a certain demographic on that, and I bless you. Have fun. It'll be great. So I know we're kind of coming up on an hour, and I do want to be respectful of your time. If you need to bounce, or if
I'm
you can't,
okay. I'm okay.
you're okay. Good.
I'm okay.
Then let's talk about some fun things. Let's get
Yes.
into a little bit of fun. So let's Global Ghost Hunt. You have joined, and you're going to be on the team with this.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about what is fun for you in tuning into energies. Like, what is fun and exciting about doing that and helping people? Because, again, obviously, traditional like ghost hunting shows, they're all in the fear, they're all in the spooky,
Right.
right? We're kind of shifting out of that, doing a new sort of thing in these new exciting creative spaces we're in. What's the fun for you? Where's the exciting?
Learning the real history. Actually learning what they were about, how they function, when did they live there, why they're still there.
It's a story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And don't we all love stories? That's the whole thing. We're storytellers at heart, all of us,
Hmm.
right? And we love
Hmm.
a good story.
Exactly. So that's what to me is one of the things that really gets me in a joyful place, because when I learn something new, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. Oh,
Mhm.
wait, they said it was X, Y, and Z, and it's not really. Here I have somebody who lived there and who lived that time, who was here, who was present, and this is what they're saying.
And they can tell you the actual story of what happened
Right.
in their timeline.
Mm-hmm.
That is so super fun. So here's a question just for
Mm-hmm.
funsies. Have you ever tuned in then to like famous locations to get information? And I'm thinking of like, say Winchester Mystery House or like pick a castle in the UK because they're all haunted, right? Like Thank you, Raymond. I would appreciate if you would make those videos just for me and Glenda. You know, we'll be all up in your stuff. Sometimes that is all that we want. That is true.
Yes. So,
but
mhm.
No, what are some of your favorite things then, or your favorite places that you've maybe tuned into?
Well, that are famous. Gettysburg. There's one.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Because you just got a lot of good stories.
I got a lot of good stories from soldiers and non-soldiers.
Okay.
That are not really in the history books.
Oh, do you have one you could share? That's fun.
Well, I have this soldier who was in one side, and all of a sudden he didn't like what the commander was doing and all that, and he took off that uniform and went to the other side and fought against that.
I'm hanging out fighting here with you people. Nope, I'm bouncing. I'm out. Listen, boss dude over there, no good.
Yep.
I'm out. I'm gonna fight on the other side.
And then the women that were.
Let me tell you what, is that just the funniest? Like, even in war, you have HR mediation problems that end up as a job hop, right? Like, even in war, this thing happens.
Well, they're fighting for a cause, and then they realize, wait, this isn't really what this.
Wait, this isn't who I really am.
No.
No, this is not resonant with me. Man, I better get to where I belong. Shoot.
Exactly. So that's, and then, there's another one that one time came to me. First of all, I'm in the car driving around, just going through the streets and all that area. And I just stopped at an intersection, and all of a sudden there's this face right here, in the window. And I'm like, I almost jumped like out of my skin. Like, he's just like, can you see me? Can you see me? Like, I'm like, yes, can you back up? And yes, I can see you.
I see you. I can almost smell you. Will you give me just a hot 3 feet, please? Like, holy Hannah.
Well, you're expecting something, but you don't expect something right at your window there.
No, yeah, no.
And he's actually asking me about the car. What is this? What is it? Why is it there are no horses? Why is it covered? All this other stuff.
That's super fun.
And I'm like trying to explain to a ghost from back then how I'm driving this thing and all that. So
I love that. I love the idea of and can you talk about this maybe? Do you have any more stories like that of, because I do love that idea of, so say there's a paranormal investigation going on, globalghosthunt.com. Again, y'all get over there and register. Right. But like, imagine you're doing a ghost hunt, right? And you tune in to somebody. It's such a funny thing to me, the idea of like, that they're maybe messing with you just a little bit.
Oh,
right?
Yes, of course.
Like, not in a bad way, but coming up and being like, hey, peekaboo. Like, like there's a little playfulness and inner childness in that a little bit, just showing up right in your face.
Right. He was looking at the car. He didn't really realize that I could see him, that I knew he existed. And then, when he startled me and I jumped, literally jumped.
Yeah. Because even if it was a regular person, you'd have been like, oh, didn't see you there.
Exactly. The same way. So he was just curious to see what.
Do you ever wonder how many of them look at paranormal investigation equipment and are like, what are you like? Because they don't necessarily know what a camera is or what, this live stream situation is.
The best story to me has been that I could talk about has been one that I did a whole weekend in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And it was a seance, and then we did an investigation and all that other stuff. And one of the spirits said to me, quiet, but I'm going to scare everyone. And I'm like, that's not nice. And he said, like, there's so much fun in that. Like,
hey, bro, don't ruin the surprise. I'm going to jump scare everybody.
And he actually said that he was going to trip somebody.
Oh,
and all that other stuff. And I'm like, and then he's like, and maybe if they don't, if they they don't behave with me, I may throw something across the room or something. I'm like, oh God.
That's just
And
fantastic.
I'm like,
I love it.
what are you doing? And he's like, this is the way I have fun. You guys have fun that way. I have fun this way.
You guys like roller coasters? I come over here and I knock your lamp over because I think it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Has it on? I'm pretty sure it's on MySpace. Oh Lord, let me tell you what. MySpace. What a bit. Does that even exist anymore? Redunculous. I love it. No, but I do love that idea of, whatever energies you're interacting with, there's not just that we can learn from them and about their story, but like
Mhm.
they want to learn about us. We
Right.
played poker with a spirit. That's
All right.
super stupendously fun. I applaud you for that. That's exciting. I have thought
That's
about
that's
like,
it. That's what I'm saying. It's like, why not interact? You would interact
yeah.
with the living the same way. So if you interact with them, you will get a lot more. You will actually get a lot more. And if you're going in there for an investigation, you go in with respect and just talking to them, not, commanding.
Mm-hmm.
They will actually show you more and tell you more and talk more and even say things that was never said to anybody else. So it's very different than people sometimes go in there with these shows.
No, but I like that. I like the new angle that more people are taking, and that like more
Yeah.
of the independent team. Playtime accelerates your
It's just
skills
skills too.
100%.
Yes.
Experimentation and joy and playfulness. You do learn things in those spaces that
Mhm.
maybe you and new things come from it, right? Like that's
Right.
where invention comes from. That's where
Exactly.
innovation comes from.
Exactly.
Get into
Exactly.
that creative space. I love it. And
Mhm.
so maybe you can talk about that because you do also do some creating, right? Like you make
Yes.
some jewelry and do that. So is there anything in that that kind of helps you tune in personally, like other than just kind of the zen out fun of it? Like is there anything in particular that you connect to about that sort of crafting?
Well, I actually have had spirits come to me and say, "No, that stone doesn't look good there. Put it over here." And
Helping
it's like,
feng shui.
okay, I'm having a bitch slapping moment. Okay, fine. Uh,
Like no, you get out of here. I'm making my own thing.
but I just say, okay, if you really think that, what do you really think so? And they're like, no, yeah. And 99% of the times, it turns out that it was better in the other piece that I was creating than in the first piece I was putting it in. So it's just the energies.
They're trying to help out, right? Like they're trying to come in
Exactly.
here and maybe you just like tune into somebody who was a like master jeweler or something and
I
and,
don't
and they're
know
just
who they were because they never, told me who they were. But I was just like, I like your energy, so I
that's
trust it.
cool. Come on in. Let's
Yeah.
create together. It'll be fun.
And that's how you really find your peace, your balance, and
Or maybe they'll just
as I
move it
put it,
themselves.
that's
Yeah.
true, Mary. We've
Go
had
for
that.
it. Like yeah, but then, like you go ahead and move it. Tell me where it belongs. I don't know.
No, you put it over here and they don't like it, they'll just move it if they really are set that they should go someplace else.
Oh, I love
Uh,
it. But
but
please and thank you. Give me that guidance.
you just go along with it because if you trust that it's okay, if you're not getting ill feelings, then let it go. Just go roll with it and you will have a lot more fun. You will learn a lot more and they will give you the real story, not the story that has been told thousands of times and is
Well, and
written a certain way.
right, and that's a thing too that it's kind of a little bit of a gossip situation sometimes of when you
Mhm.
tune into locations. It's the hearsay about the neighborhood and what people used to say about this house or what happened here,
Right.
and that's never a full story any more than it is now when we gossip
No.
about each other, right?
No.
Like, that's never all
Exactly.
the information.
No, so that's why I always like to say I go to the source. I go to the people that actually lived there at that time. And the best part is that I always ask them why they're still here. And you'd be surprised. Some women, they just love that house. That was their home. And they went into the light and then they came back and just that's their life. That's the in that moment that was what they lived for.
Mhm.
And that connection to that place is so strong that they just decided to come back.
Do
And
you ever bump into, because this is an interesting concept for me a little bit, do you ever run into spirits that are maybe hanging out in a place just temporarily and are aware of it? Like, I know I can zap into my house because I'm connected to it, but I exist elsewhere in this other energy. And
well,
kind of the idea of being able to do that yourself, and the idea of like visiting past lives, other
right.
selves, right?
Well, I did run into a spirit one time. It was a private home, and they were having a lot of trouble. The children were not sleeping and all that. So I resolved the situation, which was basically the spirits that were there were not liking how they were decorating the house
Okay.
because they had
A little
lived
bit
in. They were
a little bit of Beetlejuice, are we?
Yeah, a little bit of Beetlejuice.
Oh, I love it.
So I kind of got everybody to agree on one thing, and
Mhm.
that got calm. But then there was one spirit that I couldn't account for. There was just one person that I couldn't, and he just said to me, "Oh, I'm just here on vacation. This is where I came to have vacation to get away from everybody."
I love
And
that
I was
so
like,
much.
"Okay, do you?"
Now listen, Glenda, Lady Queen, now we're getting into a business idea here. Ghostly Airbnb. This is how they start kicking in on the rent. We
There
need to
you
start
go.
listen, Glenda and Frankie's Paranormal Airbnb. That's what we got to do. And we go
Uh,
around and we can help people create a space that welcomes spirits and be like,
yeah,
you can create a nice welcoming space for your spiritual Airbnb. Invite.
exactly.
I love this idea. What a fun thing going on vacation and like I'm just chilling in this human
Well,
world house
he
somewhere
used
for
to
a bit.
he used to when the house originally was built, there was only one house and there was all land around it. So he used to have a very busy life,
Mhm.
very what he did, it was some type of engineering. So he was always thinking, always working, and that got him really tired. So he would escape to that house. Now, I did ask him, did he see the house as it is now or as it was? And he said, no, he actually sees it as it was. He can tune in and see it as it is. But since he was going on vacation, he wanted it to be that same place.
That is
So
super fun
he
and interest
would,
like, but that's some kind of high level stuff though, right? Like in terms
I
of,
think that they could basically do it if they want to. I think it's just a matter of how we learned or not learned how to do it or
so
remember
maybe
to do it.
being like maybe Ghost Tonger is just a fun game that we get to play. I love
Yeah.
it. Just being a ghost, bopping around. And I like this house better
Yeah.
from 1942. I would like to
Right.
hang out in this house from 1942.
Right. Well, just like I'm sure you have Brian on your list, we're going to come back and haunt them a few times.
Oh,
And we'll
absolutely.
take
We're coming.
turns. We'll
We'll
take
take.
turns.
Oh, how fun. I love
Yeah.
this. Oh, yes. I'm
And
going to.
every once in a while, maybe
Brian John had better hope.
Between
He,
Christmas and New Year's, we'll both go together and we'll
and we're
really,
both gonna zap you. You better
yeah.
be. Oh, Brian John better hope he does not outlive both of us, or you're just gonna be so haunted with some troublemakers up in your space. Whatever, you would love it. We're gonna knock over your lamps, and we're gonna be moving all of your paintings and your dishes around. I'm gonna
No,
hide like,
just move the stuff all around and hide them. Like put
yeah.
the dishes in the freezer or the refrigerator
Okay,
and
now it's now we're cooking. Now we're getting there, sis. Now
yeah.
let's play this game. Fun pranks to play as a ghost. How to like what are some of the best ones we could do? Oh, this is fun now. Ghosts, how do we I want an Airbnb. I'm going to invite a ghosty person in. What are some of
Mhm.
the funnest little pranks that we can play back and forth?
Well, I only know this because the ones that are living in my house when we first tilt the picture slightly. When we first moved there were a lot of them all through the house. And
Mhm.
basically I told them you stay in the attic. The rest of the house is for living humans.
Tilt the
Uh,
pictures just like I mean,
yeah,
tell us in the comments too, peeps. Like what are the fun games you would play? Like, yeah, just make
yeah, go for it.
like a little bit off kilter.
Uh-huh. And they used to move things for me because they didn't like where I put it. The best is when they move my keys from where I had key holders going right out the back door. They
Mhm.
put them all the way in the attic.
Oh, you got to
Yeah.
go up to the attic to get your keys.
So it was like 2 hours later. I was just like, okay.
They were just being like, "Fine, if you get the rest of the house, then you have to come to us and hang out with us.
Exactly.
We
Basically.
want a party and we're going to make you join."
Mm, basically.
That's my,
But
you know what? Ooh, do you know what a good fun thing? Okay, ghost haunting time, ghost haunting suggestion time.
there you go.
Go get up into the electronics and people's like computers and YouTubes and cell phones. Start messing with their Spotify and their playlists and just start. You know what I'm saying? Like, just pick a song and just start randomly playing it. Like, oh,
Over and
yeah,
over
right.
and
Like, I
over.
remember how much you hate this song. I'm gonna play this
Yeah.
one. Move the furniture just a
Especially
little bit. I love it. Just like making people think that they're a little bit bonker doodles crazy,
yeah.
right?
Or
Like,
God, oh dear Lord, if it's an OCD person. Ooh.
oh man, let me tell you what. Can I invite a ghost to go haunt my mother? It would be the most hilarious thing because she would I mean, if you move the refrigerator magnets, she's gonna lose her stuff. Like, let me tell you what, it would be hilarious. Go get after it, ghosty peeps. I need you to haunt my mom and start messing with her Roomba. She'll freak out. Oh, it'll be so good. I love it. See, now that's the fun stuff.
That's
And
the fun stuff.
I would love to see more of that kind of thing in paranormal investigations, the play. And like Raymond was saying, they were playing poker with a spirit, you know.
Right. But when
Right.
you raise your vibrations before you go in, you yes, you have your serious time, but you have to joke around so they see
Mhm.
that you're not there all serious and bringing them down and stuff.
Right.
They're dead. Who wants to see somebody
We do not need to
smoking?
play Debbie Downer,
No, no.
no, we don't have to do that.
And the energy will be there so they could appear also. Because sometimes not all ghosts can manifest themselves. Sometimes they need a little help.
A little boost, and you got to
Right.
give them a boost with the good high vibe and energy. And sometimes that
Exactly.
means you got to play a little bit of like, hey, here's my chessboard. Let's play this game for a little bit.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
I would love to do that. See, but now here's another fun experiment. Because again, you
Hmm.
can tune into these other energies in the spiritual and in the galactic, but you can tune into people that you know real well too. And this is
Hmm.
something that I think is a fun game that more of us human friends need to start playing. Is like trying to play those kind of energy games with another human. Like, imagine you're on Zoom and you're trying to play a chess game and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to move like this piece, right? Like,
Hmm.
knight to c4, whatever it is, right? And try to get it to move. Like, what a fun little game that would be. Like,
Well, a
me,
lot of people can do that. A lot of people can move stuff just by
I
thinking about it.
I need to
And
talk
that
to
is
people and learn that.
actually part of energy work, period. So if I really tuned in, if I really want to, I could make things move. I've actually have stopped a whole computer system
Oh, fun.
because it was great.
It was
I,
great. I love it.
afterwards, it was great. At that moment, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm causing this. Calm down. Don't do that. Just stay away."
I
Yeah,
was just talking to a friend the other day how we both affect technology sometimes. Like, I have been like at card machines at like a kiosk or whatever at the
yeah,
grocery store and like it won't work, it won't work. And I'm like, listen, I'm gonna just do this and step back for a hot second and I give it a good 6 feet and then it works. You know,
yeah. Exactly. It's the same thing
it's
because
me.
even if you're grounded, even if you're you know in equal terms, whatever it is, it's just that you're carrying so much energy that you
Mhm,
affect everything around you. That's all.
mhm.
And
Have you ever experienced that then in investigation situations where the energy of just the people it's not necessarily other spirits or whatever, that like if the energy of the people is affecting the equipment or causing whatever it is that's coming up?
oh yeah, yes. Somebody who's terrified of being there, but they got talked into it,
Sure.
doesn't want to be there. They're going to mess with all that equipment because their energy is like so off kilter
Yeah.
and just whacked out that it isn't that per se that they're catching anything, but they could be draining their batteries. They could be,
Mhm.
just turning off the equipment because they don't want to be there.
Right.
So they want to do everything to get out of there.
Yeah, no, so that kind of goes back like we were talking before, just that intention setting, right? Like if you're going to go into a space, set an intention of what you kind of want this to look like,
Right.
and make sure you're setting an intention that like everybody is comfortable with being there, so that you're not having that interference energy of that fear energy, because that is going to, just like when it comes to trusting and intuition, right? Anything that feels like fear is going to be that thing that corrupts the messaging,
Exactly.
and it's the same way across the board. Communication is corrupted by that fear energy.
Exactly. No matter what you're doing, if you're fearful, if you have any negative energy, anything like that, doesn't make any difference if it's just fear. It's just in general. Anything that you bring that's negative will just corrupt a lot of stuff. It could even corrupt other people's uh, attitude, because if one person goes in there grumpy, that's going to affect anyone that's near them. But if you go in there with the intention of, I'm going to be positive, I want to see what I learn, I want to get more information, I want to talk and really communicate with these spirits, then that energy will be affecting in a good way the equipment, the people around you. It's the same thing. So no matter what energy you bring in, you affect things, but if you bring in positive, then you'll get better results.
It's the case with absolutely everything you do, right? If you go in with a positive intention, and I think sometimes it's not that toxic positivity stuff, right? I think sometimes there's a little bit of that needs to be cleared up a little bit too. The
Correct.
idea of your intention doesn't mean that you have to be perfect and
Nope.
clear of anything. It just means like, hey, I recognize I am a human and I've got hangups about stuff. But my intention with this is XYZ,
Yep.
regardless of human perception filter stuff that could get in the way.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
And it is such a big deal. And and maybe you can speak to that just a little bit. Cause again, I think it's a conversation that a lot of people are having and probably like a lot of people struggle with. The idea of having to be in a perfect vibrational frequency of, the love light stuff again, for good things to happen to you or for good things to come to you or for the things that you want in your life to appear, right? There's this sort of, can you talk to me a little bit about that? Maybe you've got some messaging from all your various friends that you tap into on that front. The idea of the pressure we put on ourselves to be spiritually, perfect, high vibing, pure love and light, and how that really does not honor the human experience that we came to have.
Well, first of all, we could only be as perfect as we are on that moment. That doesn't mean that we're 100%, may not even mean that we're 5% according to the standards. But
Whoever makes the standards, right?
standards, right. But to us, at that very moment, we're as perfect as we can be. And we should love or acknowledge who we are. We're human, right? Yes, we're energy, we're souls, whatever you want to call ourselves. We're spirits that go back and forth, whatever it is that you want to call yourself energetically. But we're still here in this meat suit. We're here to learn. We're here to experience things. I try to every single day, if I could wake up enough to remember to do this, before I get out of bed, say, hey, whatever it is, it's going to work out. Whatever it is, because it's going to be for my greatest good. Not
And whatever is for my greatest good
good.
is for the greatest good of everyone. And that's not a
Exactly.
selfish thing. It's
No.
again, all boats rise with the tide. And so if something happens for my greatest good that raises my vibration and my external reality, it's good for everyone because it
Exactly.
means that you put that good energy and those ripples back out into the lake, right?
Exactly. And also, hey, my greatest good could be having an accident that day.
Sometimes
Why?
you don't.
Because I need to stop. I needed to
Right.
stop. I needed to slow down. I needed to take a moment and breathe. I needed to get away from everything that I had to do and
Mm-hmm.
say, you know what? That's okay. It could wait till the next day. I had an accident in December. It was a rear end hit. It was a fender bender, no big deal, whatever. But the guy left the scene of the accident, almost ran over my partner Larry,
Oh,
or
geez.
LD. Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, so they took him to the hospital. They took me to the hospital. Well, I went to the hospital later after I made sure he was okay. Went to the hospital later, and then that's where they discovered I had something that the doctors were trying to figure out what it was that I had for over 3 years.
There it is. Isn't that like, again, and
Okay,
it's
it
such the
wasn't a
thing,
good experience,
right, but you
but
found this other thing that you've been
right,
trying to figure out, and I wanted that information. This is how I got
exactly,
it. And
exactly.
it's such, man, don't we struggle with that as humans, though? The idea that, something like that has to happen before I can like get this thing, right? And that,
Exactly.
again, that fear element of, I don't want something like that to happen for me to have
Mhm.
to figure it out, even if it is the path of least resistance, right?
Right, right.
And
Well,
get,
maybe I had to be seen by that specific ER doctor.
mm-hmm. Then
He's the
that's
one
just
that
where you had
came.
to be.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even go to the hospital near the accident. I went to a hospital that's like 25 miles away because I
And
liked
you
that
just,
other hospital, and it just kept telling me to go there, and I went there, and the man comes back and says, "Oh, well, you're okay from the accident, but you have this." I'm like,
what? There it
"What?
is.
They've been trying to figure this out."
Here it is. But again, life in the universe is perfect in that way. And it's,
Mhm.
the level, I suppose, of discomfort you experience is, equivalent to the level of, are you listening that's
Right,
happening, right? Are you
exactly.
really listening and following
Oh,
where you should go?
I am 100% sure that my guides, my team, my angels, and all that are in the bar every single day. Uh,
Listen, I drive my spirit guides drinking too. All right. I 100% do that. You're not alone.
and
Sometimes you just,
I argue with
sometimes,
them.
here's what I do say sometimes, though, when I get into that space, I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, y'all bitches agreed to be here, okay? You picked me too. All right. You agreed to help me out in this ride. So don't act like you didn't know I was going to be a pain in the ass. You were
Right.
aware of that from the get go.
Right.
Okay. Let's all just be clear about it for a second. I'm with you.
Exactly. I argue with them, and there's only one in my team that I do not argue with, and that's one archangel. And whenever she shows up, I'm like, okay, now I'm in trouble. That's like the principal, the
Oh,
headmaster.
where
And
is my
it's
principal
like,
headmaster? Like,
and it's
somebody
like,
needs to come in here and like, where is my disciplinarian
no,
who's
oh
gonna
no, no.
show me?
Once that gets to that point, I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. Oh, I'm
Oh,
in
I've done.
trouble.
I gotta do some big energy shifting now.
Yeah,
We've brought in the big guns. All right.
exactly, exactly. But you just
But I think, listen, there's a value, I think, to
mm,
people hearing from someone like you who does tune in and tap in and communicate with these energies regularly, and
mm,
to hearing that side of it, that it's still normal to have those arguments with them.
yes.
Still normal that somebody might have to intercede with you in your human experience to help you
Mhm.
out,
Right.
right? It's not, it's, again, the idea of perfection, or that there's never going to be a disagreement, right?
No. We're living a human experience.
And human
So,
experiences are messy.
yes, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of things happening. And why? Because thankfully we have a lot of free will. So even if
Mhm.
you're in the perfect place doing everything perfect, there's always somebody who's going to rock that boat,
Yep.
who's going to poke that bear, who's going to be throwing rocks at that lion, you know.
Because it's a co-creative experience, and you're
Exactly.
bopping around out here with other humans, and then you can really only be responsible for yourself, which is, again,
Exactly.
that's where that importance of that self-love comes in, because if you can be in your best vibration and raise
Mhm.
the vibration of those around you, that's when you can have
Mhm.
some really good interactions with people.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. You can't believe If you were meant to be perfect, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be in what I call hell.
Perfection is I listen, it is. I'm with you, because our minds will create over and over the Groundhog's Day of the things that we are trying not to create, right?
Exactly.
Like
And we should
the
keep going
stuck
back.
in a loop situation. I've found myself there multiple times, and it's like, I know this is part of the school that I'm in, but hot damn, can we get off this wheel? Like, I get you. I'm there with you on that. But it's part of this human experience, and it's part of what we signed up for. And if you were perfect, and if you were high vibing all the time, there's no expansion in that. There's no growth in that. There's no new to be found in that.
Right. We already did it. We're done. What's next? Okay.
Right.
Boring. In a way, boring.
It is, right? If it were perfect all the time, you would just get bored. Then that's why we created this hell, to be the backdrop against which heaven can exist, right?
Exactly.
Like, how would you know which one was which if you didn't have both?
Exactly. Sunny day to a rainy day.
The yin and the yang yes, 100%. I love it. This has been so fantastic. Glenda Dawson.
Thank you.
Oh, my friend, I'm so glad we got to come and hang out. I do let everybody know where they can find you. We do have your links in the description and whatnot, but tell folks where to go looking for you.
Well, and my website is glendasmagicalcreations.com, but I could be found on TikTok and Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, LinkedIn, almost everywhere. Yeah, even Twitch, people.
Even Twitch. I'm checking up on a Twitch thing too. I get I'm playing with it too. Let's all go play with all the things. I'm with you. I want to play with all the things. Yes. Well, and we do want to remind folks too, join us for Global Ghost Hunt. Go to globalghosthunt.com so you can register your team to join in the live investigations going on globally, worldwide. Glenda Dawson is going to be there as our spiritual electrical tech support. So that if you need a little bit of high vibe and boost to your space to get some right energies to come on in and play with you, she will find you some playmates at your location. It is going to be great. So again, Glenda Dawson, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone who has joined us on the live. We will catch y'all next time on Global Ghost Hunt Live. Thank you all so much.